I also wanted to introduce you to a member of our staff, and so I want to invite Ed to come and join me up here. Some of you may know Ed. This is Ed Sladkov. He's a part of our staff here at Willow Creek. He has the opportunity to serve in the Willow Creek Care Center. And for those of you who've been around here for a while, you know and you love the Care Center as much as we do. And Ed has the opportunity to oversee the clinic. And so the dental, the optometrist, I don't know why I had a hard time getting that out, but the optical work that's done in the clinic. And so grateful for what you do for us here at the church. But I asked Ed to join me because Ed also is deeply connected to all that's going on. Ed has family members who are Russian. Ed also has family members that are Ukrainian. And so as you would imagine, that the tension that has to exist as Ed and his family continue to walk the road. Ed, would you just mind sharing with us a little bit more just about your family?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on here and just for this, for Ukraine. My family came here 33 years ago in 1989. They fled the Soviet Union. My grandfather was a pastor in Russia during a time when faith was being persecuted over there, and his faith compelled him to open up an underground church. And he also opened up a printing press to print Bibles and other faith-based books to distribute through the Soviet Union for other Christ-like followers. This kind of work that he did caused severe persecution in the community he was a part of and for my family. And in the end, the ultimatum that the government gave my family and my grandfather was either he can go back to prison or they can leave everything that they have and leave the country. So in 1989, my family and a lot of other families fled from the Soviet Union and ended up in Chicago. And actually it was a Willow family that welcomed my family when they got here.
And so he shared a little bit about just the power of your grandfather and what God was doing through him in the Soviet Union. But from my understanding, your grandmom is full Ukrainian. Is that correct?
That's right. She was born just outside of Lviv, which is in western Ukraine. So she was born and she had lived there until about 6 or 7 when she started to move during World War II when Nazi Germany was coming through. So they fled closer to the Russian border.
So as you and I have talked over the last couple weeks, what I know is that you've reached out to family who currently live on both sides of the border. Give us an update on what's going on with your family.
So my grandmother's side, there's still some family that is in Ukraine, in cities like Mariupol, which is under occupation right now by the Russian forces, friends and family in Kyiv and Kharkiv, and some of the other cities. And trying to reach out to them over the past few weeks, we haven't been able to hear anything. So every day, we check for updates and we pray and we just wait and anticipate the kind of news we might hear or hear that they are safe. So right now with just the situation on the ground there, it's very hard to communicate with friends and family.
Yeah, so is there anything that you've learned along the way? Obviously, we have access to the American news like everybody else. Is there anything that you're learning and discovering by the little communication you've been able to have that even give you perspective on all that's playing out in Ukraine?
There's quite a community here in the Chicagoland area of Russian and Ukrainian people, and just like my family, we have connections to both countries. So for us, just the anxiety and the pain that both of these countries that my family is a part of is going through something like this is, it's painful. And just some of the stories that we hear from friends who have heard from family members or other friends there, no access to food, no access to water. The families in Mariupol, which is surrounded by Russian forces, are running out of supplies. So just hearing that and just seeing the effects it has on the community here, it's been a very just stressful and painful and anxiety-filled 3 weeks since this conflict started.
So as you think about those that you love And if you were to ask this community to come alongside, as we're praying for people, if you were to encourage us to pray for some specific things, whether it be for your family, Oksana's family, those that you're tied to, what would you encourage us to pray for?
Well, I mean, one, for all the people in all those cities. I mean, tens of thousands of people stuck in a lot of the cities that are being bombed, that are under attack. They didn't ask for this war, they didn't ask for this conflict. So keeping them in your prayers, just to make sure that they survive and that they can live through this. And just another prayer, a lot of the people in those communities, especially in Ukraine and Russia and here, again, are connected to both countries. And just praying for that ceasefire, praying for this hostility to end, is the biggest prayer that our community is trying to do. And for the refugees that are fleeing too, for them just to find a home somewhere safe until this can end, and then later to return home where they want to be.